Just one day after Parliament grilled Rupert Murdoch and other top executives at News Corp, Doug Creutz from Cowen Co raised his rating on the stock and also raised his earnings estimates for 2012. And he joins us now live from San Francisco to explain himself. Doug, thanks for coming to join us on Street Smart. Let's talk first of all about their performance yesterday. Do you think that they did well enough that you were pushed to increase your rating, or is it just the fact that it's over and behind us?
It's more that it's over and behind us. I mean, you never knew what was going to come out of that situation, and I would also, say with Rebecca Brooks also going in front of Parliament, you never know what's going to come out of that. But, part of our rationale is that there's a good chance that yesterday represented sort of the peak of the bad news cycle surrounding the situation. And if that's the case, if the stock has gotten hit pretty hard, we think the multiple comes back. We're comfortable with earnings growth for the next year. They have put a large buyback in place. And I think also while management is consumed with this, it lowers the chance that they're going to engage in any expensive M&A, which has always been an issue when you wanted to own News Corp.
Do you feel like a lot of people were concerned about the nepotism at News Corp, but yesterday it seemed that James Murdoch was the natural successor of his father, and that succession is kind of on its way to happening as we speak. Do you feel that way as well?
Well, I think certainly the decision to have James answer a lot of the questions was geared towards that. Now, what I'll say is a large part of our decision to upgrade is also geared around the idea that this thing may not have peaked and it could get worse. And in that case, I think the pressure on the Murdoch family to hand over operational control of the company will go up. And then in the event that they do, there's always been a Murdoch discount associated with this stock. That would go away, and I think in that case you could see some really impressive returns for shares because News Corp does have a lot of attractive businesses.
Hey, there was lots of talk yesterday. Our own Andy Fixmer breaking the story that, according to people familiar, that Chase Carey was going to take over the COO. Would that make you happy? Would that be a good thing for News Corp? He's a close ally of Rupert's, though.
Well, I think there's two ways that could happen. The idea has been floated is that Chase would take over as CEO and Rupert would remain as chairman. And I think, on the one hand, that could quiet critics in terms of the news cycle. But in our view, it would still essentially mean that Rupert is still calling the shots of the company and probably wouldn't fully get rid of the Rupert discount. On the other hand, if Chase were to become CEO and you had an independent board member become chairman, then you have a different situation entirely. And I think you're looking at a more traditionally publicly held company run for the benefit of shareholders.
Oh, I wonder, Doug, up until now, a lot of people have been saying the way News Corp or the way Rupert runs News Corp is as long as you do well, as long as you give me the right numbers, show me the money, I'm not going to interfere too much. And he kind of made that evident yesterday. Does that kind of management style change to more of a micromanaging climate? And is that good for the growth of the company?
It's hard to say. I think that the degree to which the Murdochs portray themselves as being out of touch with the day-to-day in the business is probably not quite the case. I think Rupert sets a culture of aggressiveness at News Corp across all their businesses, and sometimes that can be good, and sometimes that can be less good when there isn't proper oversight. I think at least in the near term, there probably is going to be a little more attention to the detail to make sure that they don't have anything else rear up and cause problems. But I don't know that in the event that Rupert and James remain sort of the key drivers of the company, that I think there's going to be any major changes at News Corp.
It's kind of interesting, Doug, because we actually had a story out from Bloomberg News today that's saying, based on James Murdoch's performance yesterday, he kind of boosted his odds of taking the top job over at News Corp. He seemed to be the one in control, and that his dad seemed to defer to him on a lot of the specific details. So you don't see it that way, or what?
No, I absolutely do see it that way. I think that is still the most likely scenario, that when his father is ready to step down, that James will, if not immediately, at least eventually be picked to run the company. And that's, I think, been the game plan for the Murdochs all along. The question is, does this scandal throw a wrench in that plan, either temporarily or permanently? And I think that remains to be seen.
Hey, Doug, thanks so much for joining us. Doug Creutz there from Cowen and Company. We're going to